Good morning, America. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network as President Trump to hold a meeting with the Crown Prince, who also happens to be the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They'll be coming up in roughly 30 minutes here for a bilateral meeting, also a luncheon, and then some evening coverage in the prime time as well with Mr. Mohammed bin Salman, very fond of President Trump, as we saw from those Gulf state meetings earlier in the year. It was unprecedented how Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE all really rolling out the red carpet, in some cases a purple carpet, for the President of the United States. Again, very rare for Saudi Arabian royalty to greet a president or foreign head of state and actually walk up to their transit system, either be plane or any other motorcade, but that gentleman did that, including the United States of America national anthem being played very proudly in the kingdom, as well as some YMCA, if you remember from that meeting back in May, how quickly this year has gone by. We also do have Secretary Kristi Noem of the Department of Homeland Security working on an ICE pact with the countries of Canada and Finland. So a playback for you, which should be ready moments from now as the diplomacy continues to take place within this administration. And more big news today with, at 1:30, a scheduled vote Eastern for the Epstein files to be released. So be watching all of that as House Speaker Mike Johnson and Republican leadership underway right now. In the meantime, let's take you to Secretary Kristi Noem of DHS and her counterparts from Canada and Finland.
Canadians, members of the delegations from Finland, Canada, and the United States, and all of the distinguished guests that are joining us here today. My name is Admiral Kevin Lunday. I'm the Acting Commandant of the United States Coast Guard, and it's my honor to welcome you all to the Douglas A. Monroe Coast Guard Headquarters building for this principals meeting for the Icebreaker Collaboration Effort, or IcePact. Today marks a significant milestone in our shared commitment to advancing Arctic security, industrial cooperation, and workforce development. Together, we're forging a path to ensure that our nations are equipped to meet the challenges of the polar regions while fostering economic growth and innovation. We're very honored today to be joined by Ambassador Hillman, Canada's Ambassador to the United States, and Minister Puisto, Finland's Minister of Economic Affairs. Thank you and your teams for making the long journey here to Washington, D.C., and thank you for your efforts to make IcePact a success. Your leadership and dedication to this trilateral partnership have been instrumental in driving the progress that we celebrate today. It is my honor to now introduce for opening remarks the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, the Honorable Christine Noem. Secretary Noem brings proven leadership experience, a commitment to public service, and a focus on national security and efficient government that drives our Department of Homeland Security's mission to safeguard the nation. Madam Secretary.
Good morning. It's a beautiful morning, and I'm so grateful to be with all of you, and thank you for coming to memorialize this significant event, not just for the United States of America, but for our great countries, Canada and Finland, and the relationship that we're going to continue to build. And that's what we are, is that we are a people of builders. We have a president that has spent his lifetime and his legacy building things, building relationships and projects and futures with the work of his hands, the legacy of his family, but also with a vision for the future of this country. Admiral Lunday, I want to thank you for your leadership as well. The Admiral has been nominated to be our next Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, and we're so grateful for his leadership and his commitment to our national security and platform over the many years. I believe it's 39 years?
Almost 39.
Almost 39 years in service to the United States of America. Let's give him a round of applause. Congressman Higgins and Congressman Weber, thank you for coming today. You have led with distinction. You serve and represent your people well, but you also keep your eye on the ball each and every day about what it means to keep this country safe. So thank you for your commitment and what it means to have your presence here today. It means a lot, not just for me personally, but to the entire room and to the Coast Guard and to these countries that know you'll continue to make sure that our relationship stays strong. So we appreciate you and your leadership. To the Ambassador and Minister, thank you. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to continue to work together and to collaborate for the strength of our countries. As you know, I'm Christine Noem. I am honored to be the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, and today is not just a great day for the United States of America, but for the entire Western Hemisphere. Alongside our partners here from Canada and Finland, the Trump administration is taking a monumental step forward to protect the Arctic against our enemies, bringing good jobs to our American shores in the process, and also strengthening our commitment to our alliances in the region. I do want to thank my counterparts, the Minister of Economic Affairs, Sakari Busito, and Ambassador Kristen Hilleman, for joining me here today. I want to thank the Ambassador, who I had the chance to know previously to this role, but also made a new friend in the Minister. I'd also like to thank Admiral Lunday and Mr. Sean Planky for their leadership of the U.S. Coast Guard. Both have been absolutely essential to rebuilding America's icebreaker fleet. And thank you to all the other industry partners who are in the room, and thank you to those other members of Congress that have committed to getting us to where we are here today. We could not simply have done this without all of you. Today is a major milestone in the race to secure the Arctic for all of our countries. The Arctic is the world's last, most wild frontier, and our adversaries are racing to claim its strategic position and its rich natural resources for their own. If we give up that high ground, then we will condemn future generations to permanent insecurity, and we're not going to let that happen on our watch. This is what brings us here today. To thrive in the Arctic, we need icebreakers. But if we're going to get those icebreakers that we need to secure our supply chains, and we need to invest in bringing our manufacturing back here home to our American shores. And that's why IcePack is such a big deal. It's not just a symbolic agreement, it's one that is delivering tangible results for all of our countries. It's powering our economies. It's strengthening our collective Arctic defense, and it's bringing us one step closer to rebuilding our icebreaker fleets. America has been in the Arctic region for over 150 years. And now, once again, we're acting together as one under the leadership of President Trump. Already we're seeing the fruits of his leadership, and in August of 2025, we commissioned the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Stores, the first polar icebreaker acquired by the Coast Guard in over 25 years. But commissioning the Stores was just the first step. Thanks to the funding secured by President Trump's leadership and members of Congress that are in this room, we are dramatically expanding our icebreaker fleet. The Coast Guard's polar security and our new Arctic security cutter programs are moving forward full steam ahead. We're working hard to develop, to build, and deploy these critical assets so that we can have our warfighters ready all of the time and on record time. And this meeting could not have come at a better time. Soon after the Stores was commissioned, Chinese research vessels openly operated in and near U.S. Arctic waters. Their goal was clear. They wanted to test America's resolve. The Coast Guard responded immediately. In fact, we deployed the cutter Healy and a fleet of air assets to the scene, and we escorted those intruders out of our waters. Our rapid response sent a clear message. Under President Trump's leadership, we will defend our sovereignty. And I can guarantee you that President Trump is committed to this mission. In October, he signed a memorandum on Arctic security cutters in the Oval Office, emphasizing the urgency behind delivering these icebreakers to the fleet. And IcePact is going to help us make that happen. By pooling our resources and our expertise, we are going to deliver these vessels on time, and we're going to minimize our costs. Just this year, the Canadian shipbuilder Davies announced a $1 billion investment in U.S. shipyards to build icebreakers right here in America. And companies from Finland are teaming up with American shipyards to deliver new, cutting-edge icebreakers. Both efforts are going to continue to create long-term, well-paying jobs for U.S. American-born workers. And on that note, I'm proud to announce the release of the IcePact U.S. National Defense Workforce Plan and Development Plan. This plan is going to set the stage for rebuilding our shipyards and revitalizing an industry that has been left on the wayside for far too long. Not only will these workers be able to provide for their families, but they'll be able to take pride in knowing that their work is absolutely critical for American security, for our economic growth, and for Arctic dominance. This plan will set the stage for future efforts to join even more programs in 2026 and beyond far into the future. Finland and Canada are essential to the success of that mission. And American shipbuilders are some of the most innovative, dedicated, and hardworking individuals in the world. But they have been let down by the policies that put America last. That is changing today. Through initiatives like the Workforce Development Plan, President Trump is bringing this proud industry back to life. And under his leadership, America is restoring our Arctic and our maritime dominance. So thank you again, Minister Cito and Ambassador Hillman, for your nation's willingness to join us on this mission. May God bless you. May God bless the people of Finland and the people of Canada, and may God continue to keep his hand and protection on the great United States of America. Thank you.
We are heading into, if not already in, the cold and flu season, along with that very low-level strain of COVID. So what are you to do in order to prep for the holiday season with Thanksgiving right around the corner? Be sure to visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for life-saving medications and 10% off of these orders across site-wide. Don't let a cold ruin the holidays for you. There's a lot of travel, togetherness, family, being with one another for the holidays. It's a blessing, but every once in a while someone can get sick this time of year and make the whole turkey celebration a bit more frightening than needed. That's why All Family Pharmacy is helping Americans stay healthy this season with over 300 essential medications, including ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, methylene blue, NAD+, amongst many others. You can't find these at big pharmacies. My goodness, the man who invented ivermectin won a Nobel Peace Prize for it. But we know that some in big pharmaceuticals want to hide the right to try. They want to, or don't believe that they can make money off of these generics that can literally do so much for your well-being, including antibiotics to antivirals and Tamiflu. RSBN 10, you're familiar with that, the RSBN 10 code for 10% off at checkout at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You don't want scrambling or urgent doctor visits or urgent cares that are through the door this time of year. Everything's done online. All you have to do is request what you need. A licensed U.S. doctor reviews that. No insurance, no hassle. It's no red tape, no bureaucracy. Simply a pharmaceutical note, and then you're good to go with medication showing up to your door even days after you order, knowing that your family is covered. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, the go-to to accompany your holiday celebrations. In addition to that, might be a good time of year to check on your wealth and savings and preservation, all provided by Monetary Gold, the best in the business. RSBNforthegold.com. Call today. Do not delay. Ask how you can eliminate those IRA fees permanently for life. Get those out of the way so you can have a plan on buying that next property or creating generational wealth for you and your family. 888-617-7994. We do know that the storm is building beneath the dollar. It's lost 40% in purchasing power over the course of the last 2 decades. And with gold breaking through at $4,000 an ounce, silver past $50. This is not just luck, it's logic. It's common sense, because as paper money keeps getting printed and inflation being such an issue just over the course of the AutoPen administration, gold and silver skyrocketing as a result. History proves this. Every time currency weakens, gold and silver stand the test of time. It's been backed up by over 5,000 years of human history. These metals don't depend on promises. They don't vanish when confidence collapses. They endure through the test of time. RSBNforthegold.com. Monetary Gold, the best in the business. Once again, give them a call today, 888-617-7994. And with that extra wealth and savings, why not put a trade or a bet down at Kalshi.com/RSBN? Who will President Trump pardon this year? Could it be Changpeng Zhao to Roger Ver? How about Mr. Steve Bannon, a friend of ours to the network? Will Bitcoin hit that 150,000 mark before March Madness of next year? Kalshi, trade on everything. It's Kalshi.com/RSBN. Who will be at the top of the National Football League come week 18? They have those questions there. So it's sports, it's music, it's culture, it's politics, it's more. It's the American experiment. All there at Kalshi.com/RSBN, as we will run through some of what President Trump has said in the last couple of hours on a plethora of topics, including healthcare with cut number 1. Mr. Producer, the only healthcare I will support or approve is sending the money directly back to the people, with nothing going to the big, fat, rich insurance companies who have made trillions and ripped off America for far too long and long enough. The people will be allowed to negotiate and buy their own much better insurance. Power to the people. Congress, do not waste your time and energy on anything else. This is the only way that we have great healthcare in America. Get it done now. President DJT. And the president is not too thrilled with some Indiana Republicans with cut number 2. It was just revealed that the FBI had secretly placed against all rules, regulations, proceeds, and standards 274 FBI agents into the crowd just prior to and during the January 6th hoax. This is under the Wray FBI. This is different from what Director Christopher Wray stated over and over again. That's right. As it turns out now, FBI agents were at and in the January 6th protest, probably acting as agitators and insurrectionists, but certainly not as law enforcement officials. I want to know who each and every one of them, the so-called agents, are and why they were up to now the historic day many great American patriots were made to pay a very big price, only for the love of their country. And I owe this investigation of dirty cops and crooked politicians to them. Christopher Wray, the then director of the FBI, has some major explaining to do. And that's 2 in a row. Comey and Wray, who got caught in lying with our great country at stake. We can never let this thing happen to America again. And we're fortunate to have someone like Kash Patel, who truly fits the fidelity, bravery, integrity, the letters that stand for the Federal Bureau of Investigations. That's what it's supposed to be about. But the last two, sadly, Mr. Wray and Mr. Comey, really have led the country down a spiral of questions and sending in people who had a history of upending governments, especially in South America and around the world. And these people, regardless of where you stand on January 6th, which was completely blown out of proportion. We're seeing that with the BBC case right now. President Trump has a very solid civil case against the BBC for editing specific cuts from that day in his speech. And if you did not catch it, Saturday Night Live actually had a very funny sketch during Weekend Update from this weekend, poking fun at all of that. But the serious nature of it is the fact that many people were not granted their Sixth Amendment rights in that process to a speedy trial, many in solitary confinement over the course of the entirety of the Otto Penn administration or close to it. And that's something that should not happen in America, as you're presumed innocent before being proven guilty, or at least at one point it was like that. So we look forward to that investigation as President Trump diving into cut number 2 with the Indiana Republicans and congressional maps. This is a discussion that continues to be at the highest levels of government and what Newsom is doing out in California as well. I am working with Governor Mike Braun and other Indiana Republicans on picking up 2 Republican congressional seats. Now, the governor, a good man, must produce on this, or he will be the only governor, Republican or Democrat, who did not. I won Indiana in a landslide and the most votes ever gotten in the state. Such an honor. A Rhino State Senator, Roderick Bray, who doesn't care about keeping the majority in the House in D.C., is the primary problem. Soon he will have a primary problem, as we will get any other politician who supports him in this stupidity. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. And apparently there in Indiana, some primary competitions already lining up in regards to this redrawing of the maps. And with number 3, Mr. Producer, the United Nations successfully passing the Board of Peace, as President Trump stating, congratulations to the world on the incredible vote of the United Nations Security Council just moments ago, acknowledging and endorsing the Board of Peace, which will be chaired by me and include the most powerful and respected leaders throughout the world. This will go down as one of the biggest approvals in the history of the United States, will lead to further peace all over the world, and is a moment of true historic proportion. Thank you to the United Nations and all the countries of the UN Security Council, which includes China, Russia, France, the United Kingdom, Algeria, Denmark, Greece, Guyana, South Korea, Pakistan, Panama, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, and Somalia. Also, thank you to those countries that weren't on this committee but strongly backed the effort, including Qatar, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, and Jordan. The members of the board and many more exciting announcements will be made in the coming weeks. This is the Peace Through Strength presidency. Donald Trump has proven that with 8 wars solved in 8 months, and now on the cusp of solving that Russia-Ukraine conflict, which he has said has been the most difficult, meeting with Mr. Zelensky of Ukraine on countless occasions, with NATO, with the European Union, and also that peace summit back on August 15th with Vladimir Putin of Russia. So we're watching all of that as some tensions in South America as well with Venezuela. We've seen at least 19 narco ships destroyed by the U.S. Coast Guard in the last couple of weeks or so. In addition to that, the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest warship in the world in the Caribbean, watching that as American forces now training again in Panama. We have not seen that since the Cold War. And also this very tragic news from Nigeria, as Boko Haram, who controls the north and that area of the country controlled by Islamists, and the central part of the country having a mix of Christian and Muslim believers, the south of the country heavily Christian-oriented. They've seen genocide for far too long now, and President Trump has warned since Friday that the United States will go in guns blazing if things do not change. Of course, today at 1:30 Eastern as well, the House vote on these Epstein files and additional emails to be released to the public, and a growing chorus echoing for these to be done. In the meantime, many interesting quotes coming out from Larry Summers, the former Harvard president and Clinton protege of the 42nd presidency. I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused, according to Larry Summers, now claiming he is ashamed of his past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. We also have David Schoen, who was President Trump's lawyer in the impeachment hearings, also Jeffrey Epstein's attorney at one point, stating if Jeffrey Epstein had any dirt on Donald Trump, he would have had great leverage in the criminal case against him at the time he died. The fact that he unequivocally said he had none ought to shut down the false claims otherwise, but facts are no obstacle to political attacks. And Mr. Schoen is very right about that, as we thank angelpaste.com, the miracle cream that is the vitamin B cream I use on a daily basis. It's great this time of year, really all year, but with the colder temperatures comes that dry air, especially pending your neck of the woods, but that's true right here in eastern Alabama. And as that cold air creeps on in, don't let the skin get all dry, and it's a good time to moisturize. And these Christian-owned angelpaste.com folks are big supporters of our military. So they hire veterans. They're out of the Lone Star State in Texas, out of Spring, Texas, right outside of Houston. And that's just on the Gulf of America. So they have great products that can really help you through any kind of temperature and any time of the year. The orange option, filled with vitamin C, again, non-GMO, no chemicals, excellent for this time of year to give you an extra boost of immunity, and the natural facial spray as well. Angelpaste.com, they have countless products. Go check them out today. Thank you to covepure.com/RSBN. All health starts in the gut. And we know with Flint, Michigan, and the lead that was in those 100-plus-year-old pipes poisoned people. And it can lead to stomach and gastro issues, to kidney and liver failure, ultimately brain cancer. You don't want to mess with anything like that. covepure.com/RSBN, leading in the reverse osmosis system with their ClearWave technology. And you see that machine right there, no larger than a coffee maker. It actually looks like a coffee maker. It could sit right there on your kitchen counter or in your den. And this exclusive RSBN offer, $200 off right now. Scan the QR code there to drink pure and live pure at covepure.com/RSBN. JAMA Pediatrics putting out that study that students will lose 2 points or more of their IQ if they drink from the tap on a regular basis. We don't want that, especially after the COVID learning loss and everything that's happened over the last 5 years. Also, Utah, Florida, putting legislation through supported by Governors Spencer Cox and Ron DeSantis to stop the fluoride in the water. Yes, fluoride, pesticides, agricultural runoff, hormone-disrupting blockers in the tap water, including birth control. We don't want that. So make sure you're keeping everything clean and pure right where it matters. covepure.com/RSBN. Also, thank you to Venice.ai/RSBN /RSBN. Get 20% off right now of the latest technology. This is something that Sam Altman has talked about a lot regarding the ChatGPT. You can now reference all of your past conversations, whether it be written down, whether it be discussed or dialogued. Do you feel comfortable knowing that AI platforms have access to your thoughts, to your dreams, to what you have said in the past, and sensitive questions, business ideas, things you've shared with your business partners, professional or personal? Well, that's why Venice.ai/RSBN leading this field with protecting what matters most. It took us far too long to truly understand what social media companies are capable of doing with their dragnets. And we saw how they kicked President Trump off of their platforms just a few short years ago. And now free speech has been defended and fought for with the purchase of X from Elon Musk to the creation of True Social, among others. But it's frightening to see that some of these open AI models and social media sites can actually start thinking for you and follow you and steal what is your intellectual property. They don't spy on you or censor the AI, and these messages are encrypted right here at Venice.ai/RSBN, and it can be extremely valuable for your privacy. 20% off right now, code RSBN with Venice.ai/RSBN. A great tool in this new time that we're living with artificial intelligence, as we see there the military lined up and ready to welcome the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The American flags and the Saudi Arabian flags out there on the south lawn of the White House. As we wait on that, we also have President Trump, who a couple of days ago called out for House Republicans should vote to release these Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. To quote the President of the United States, that vote will be happening scheduled for 1:30 Eastern. We know House Republican leadership having a press conference earlier this morning. In addition to that, for the 6th month in a row, 0 illegal aliens released into the United States, a complete 180 and reversal from the Autopen administration. Stick with us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we await the President of the United States and the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A quick commercial break for sponsors. You are on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk. from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network on this Tuesday morning, November 18th. I'm Robert McNeely as we await President Donald Trump to greet Mohammed Salman, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in a bilateral meeting, a luncheon, and then also with evening coverage tonight. So be sure to tune into that as the Crown Prince will be welcomed back to the White House for a dinner as well. So we look forward to this official visit and a relationship that has really grown that was not necessarily there in the past, something that has grown over the last several years, and the respect that was shown to President Trump in that Gulf state trip just a few short months ago should be wonderful to see that reciprocated here at the White House today. Now, in other news as well, the big question, according to the White House, where is the Democrat transparency on Epstein? On a vote we'll be watching coming up at 1:30 Eastern. As President Trump said, House Republicans should vote to release all of the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. And it's time to move on from the Democrat hoax perpetuated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great successes of the Republican Party. Why haven't Democrats shown the same transparency, and what else are they hiding? In fact, many reporters asking the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, about Stacey Plaskett, the delegate from the United States Virgin Islands, soliciting and being given $30,000 from Epstein for the DCCC. That's the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee, after he was already a convicted sex offender. So they accepted that money. We don't have an answer as to why that was, or the fact that Plaskett herself accepted the maxed out donations from Epstein for her own campaign, or the fact that the wife of former Democrat governor of the United States Virgin Islands told Epstein, "We would have a friend in Stacey," quote unquote, if he made the said donations. Or the fact that Plaskett was literally texting Epstein during a committee hearing before his untimely passing. Very interesting that, well, any congressional member during a hearing would be texting outside of their office, but then to have someone who's a convicted sex offender, very disturbing. Now, the Democrats are also not talking about the fact that former President Bill Clinton traveled on Epstein's aircraft, the Lolita Express, as it's known, 26 times. In fact, under the cover of night, when it was secret, and when he was President of the United States, therefore making it Air Force One. Or the fact that one of Epstein's victims wrote that she saw Clinton on Epstein's island with two young women, or the fact that Clinton's visit to the island was corroborated by one of his former top aides. None of that being sought by Democrat leadership dating back to the 1990s. Why aren't Democrats talking about the long relationship and storied friendship that Larry Summers, the ex-Harvard president, who's now saying he regrets his relationship, that he's sorry for the pain he has caused, to quote Larry Summers, a former Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton and prominent Democrat, who described himself as Summers' wingman. It's very interesting to have that kind of relationship with a convicted sex offender. Now, why aren't Democrats talking about the fact that Democrat so-called journalist Katie Couric had dinner at Epstein's residence after he was already a convicted sex offender who served jail time. Maybe Katie can explain that on her podcast. Why aren't Democrats talking about the fact that Reid Hoffman, a billionaire Democrat mega donor, visited the island, attended a dinner with him, and even planned to stay at Epstein's New York mansion? Why aren't they talking about the fact that the Democrat National Committee refused to return $32,000 in Epstein donations? And why aren't the Democrats talking about the fact that Michael Wolff encouraged Jeffrey Epstein to blackmail then presidential candidate Donald Trump, insisting that the convicted pedophile could generate a debt from him? It's time for Democrats to answer these questions, and apparently they might just have the opportunity today, voting to release the rest of these documents and emails. We look forward to that vote at 1:30. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Do not let a cold ruin your holidays. 10% off right now with code RSBN10. That's RSBN10. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Scan the QR code there right now for over 300 options on life-saving medications, including ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, methylene blue, and Tamiflu, antibiotics, also antivirals that can make a massive difference for you and yours over the holiday season. There's really no excuse not to be prepared. Have that medicine cabinet stocked and filled up, and you could take these life-saving medications with you on the road if you happen to be traveling for the holiday season. So a great way to keep yourself healthy and prepared with code RSBN10. And now there's no pharmaceutical note. There's you need the pharmaceutical note by a U.S. doctor under review, but no insurance, no issue. So no red tape, no bureaucracy. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, code RSBN10 for that discount. MyPillow.com/RSBN, the early Black Friday special. The Children's Bible Story Pillow, 5 of them, a 5-pack for under $30. A great deal from the master marketer himself, Mr. Mike Lindell. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Call today. Do not delay. It's 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network at MyPillow.com/RSBN. It's easy to remember. Code RSBN for savings on over 2,000 products to make your nights a little bit simpler and more relaxed and comfortable, and mornings even better with the My Coffee, one of my favorites out there. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Thank you to Mike Lindell, a dear friend of the network. Everything made in America. Some of the world's best products all assembled here in his Minnesota manufacturing facilities. MyPillow.com/RSBN, the early Black Friday special. Take advantage of it now for those little loved ones who will enjoy Bible stories in real time with the Children's Bible Story Pillow, a 5-pack for $29.98. Thank you to Mike Lindell and MyPillow.com/RSBN. As we get right around to 11:15 Eastern. We are awaiting the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to meet with President Trump moments from now, with our military on hand to welcome His Majesty. And it really was a star-studded rollout for that Gulf state tour of the kingdom, and also the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, as President Trump has realigned relationships across the globe with people that did not necessarily get along over the years and over many generations. But we've seen the Abraham Accords on steroids in this second term, with peace in the Middle East being at the forefront and putting the Iranian Republican Guard really up against the ropes, and their ayatollahs and the mullahs really having no other option than to pursue peace. And it's something we pray that can happen once again. Just last week, President Trump meeting with Syria's new president and leader, something that was asked for by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And President Trump seeing this as a way towards even more robust peace in the Middle East and a chance just a chance for Syria to come into the Western world, to trade and be capitalistic, and to not have the sectarian violence that we saw throughout the Obama administration, something that was quite complicated, but something that saw the birth of a caliphate growing into what was known as ISIS. President Trump eliminated that immediately under his first term. And within 3 weeks, of course, General Dan Raisin Kane, we know him as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was the one initially speaking to President Trump in the first term to eliminate the caliphate threat from radical Islamic terrorism, and something that was joined in celebration by these Gulf states, including that of Jordan, who their Highness and His Majesty King Abdullah II, actually during the Obama years, he's a fighter pilot himself, would actually join in those raids against ISIS. We saw that caliphate kind of boil up once again under the autopen, but now truly radical Islamic terrorism on the run under the Trump administration. Where we see its most glaring face right now, arguably, is in Nigeria and Boko Haram, that continues to terrorize the Christian population in a genocide that does not seem to be stopping in the moment. But we will watch all of that very closely. As we know, Congressman Tom Cole of Oklahoma, Congressman Riley Moore of West Virginia, amongst others, laser focused on stopping that genocide, and perhaps will be a topic of conversation with the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and President Trump just moments from now, as we await his arrival at the South Lawn of the White House. President Trump has now had countless leaders to the White House in less than one calendar year to discuss the hot topics of the day, including the tariffs and really relooking at globalization as we know it. In fact, this president truly conquering it with the use of tariffs and bringing back billions into the United States, and that continued discussion regarding the use of chip creation, H-1B visas, to manufacturing right here in the United States. His most recent foreign trip, President Trump going to the Indo-Pacific to meet with Malaysian nations and also Cambodia and Thailand, the two kingdoms there, who were brought to peace in that one, something not really covered by the mainstream media. Let's go there live now, as it looks like the military is presenting arms to welcome the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
United States.
and the Marines and our United States military band, the president's very own, doing an extraordinary job hosting as maitre d's and ushers at the White House in really a star-studded event of pomp and circumstance as we thank Monetary Gold for wealth security preservation. It's what you need nowadays with the dollar losing 40% of its purchasing power in BRICS nations that are divesting from the U.S. dollar on a global scale. So how do you diversify for property management and assets to simply those life savings, whether coming through pensions or being in the private sector? you want to protect those that matter most, especially if you want to create generational wealth for your family. Grab the complimentary Presidential Gold Guide today. Call today. Don't delay. Ask how you can eliminate your annual IRA fees permanently for life. 888-617-7994. It's RSBN forthegold.com. It makes sense with gold going up $4,000 an ounce. Silver not far back at $50. Its rate really skyrocketing in this bull market. So it makes sense if you can financially have this at your disposal. And monetary gold truly is the best in the business. RSBN forthegold.com. As we get close to the bottom of the hour, feel free to donate if you can to rsbnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. If you'd like to send a check or money order, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains. That's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. Thank you for supporting us here on the right side of history. It's so crucial and important as the legacy media really has changed over the Trump era in the last decade of bringing you unbridled access to the commander-in-chief and the 50th vice president of the United States, the 119th Congress. It's our honor to do so as we are so grateful for all of you. Those videos and photos from the campaign trail last year, can you believe how much fun that was? The most historic campaign, I think, in recent memory of 2024. There was one that was not like it in modern American politics. And we're looking forward to 2026, which could be as fun, peaceful, and patriotic, God willing, as 2024 was. Well, we'll be there with you all along the way, especially getting your takes on the campaign trail. It's very fun. President Trump holding a meeting with the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I wanted to clarify as well, because some people had questions about, is this a formal state dinner? Because President Trump greeting the Crown Prince right there on the south lawn of the White House versus the outside of the Oval Office. No, the event is not a state dinner, but considered an official working visit. It includes a formal black tie dinner tonight at the White House. The distinction is that the Crown Prince is not the head of state for Saudi Arabia. That's his father, King Salman. Based on the way they structure their government, the prime minister is, in a sense, the second in command, the crown prince, who will conduct the day-to-day procedures of the kingdom. The visit includes significant ceremonies, including that welcome ceremony as you just witnessed, the gala dinner, and the appearance somewhat of what's reminiscent of a state visit. The official designation is a working visit, once again, because it's the crown prince representing the kingdom, not King Salman. And the event includes this welcome ceremony, bilateral meetings, also the black tie dinner tonight, which comes with pomp and circumstance and a flyover by our military, very similar to what President Trump experienced when he was over in the kingdom just a few short months ago. It's 11:30 Eastern. We'll take a quick commercial break for sponsorships. Don't change that dial. It's a good morning on this Tuesday morning in America. You're on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. President Trump and the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia conducting bilateral meetings and a luncheon today, as you see the honor guard awaiting outside of the West Wing and on the South Lawn. Just announced by the White House in the office of the Vice President, who will be part of these meetings today. He will join Breitbart's Matthew Boyle for a fireside chat this Thursday, as the First Lady and the Second Lady, Mrs. Trump and Mrs. Vance, will both travel together tomorrow to Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. So we'll watch all of that as they pay respects to the troops. And something to do this time of year, if someone is wearing that uniform, whatever it might be, paramedics to police officers, firemen, just stop by and say thank you, especially in your local community, and especially those who are on duty and working the holidays as we get together with family and friends, because they keep us safe during these times. And in many cases can be a real thankless job. And that's why we'll probably see, well, not only the First and Second Lady visiting service members tomorrow, but also some traditional Thanksgiving early celebrations, perhaps by the president. We'll keep you tuned into that early on in the week, especially that traditional parting of the turkeys. So we look forward to seeing who the lucky turkeys will be, or lucky turkey in and of himself or herself, come Monday or Tuesday of next week, as President Trump is getting the meetings in before the holidays. There's no question about that. This is a very strategic and vital relationship, not only for trade, but part of the entire realigning of the Middle East, and that argument that really comes from the MAGA doctrine. Why fight one another when you can trade and build together and make Gaza to other elements of the Middle East more peaceful and more prosperous than ever before? And this president really building on what was done even some years ago with the Carter administration and the Camp David Accords with Israel and Egypt, two warring neighbors for countless generations. It's biblical. You look back to Exodus and the Jewish people being led by Moses out of the land of Egypt. But Saudi Arabia being a crucial component of all of those discussions over the years, and putting aside once generational disputes and arguments in the pursuit of peace with the Abraham Accords from the first term of the Trump administration into now with the ending of the 12 Days War between Israel and Iran. And it was American military firepower that ultimately stopping the centrifuges and those three sites in Tehran by B-2 bombers, then followed by our Tomahawks in the Persian Gulf. But also Saudi Arabia helping to lead on these discussions in the pursuit of peace, joining an echoed chorus of Middle Eastern and Jewish and Christian neighbors calling for an end of Iran's actions in the region. So I'm sure some of those topics will be discussed today between the head of state from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which happens to be the Crown Prince, as I mentioned before, the Prime Minister, Mohammed Salman. Let's go there live now to the White House with the President and the Crown Prince.
little bit. Now she's in my shot. Thank you very much.
And you are watching live Right Side Broadcasting Network this morning as President Trump and the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed Al Salman, enjoy a tour of what's known as the 45-second walk from the residence to the Oval Office, but taking a couple of minutes there to enjoy the new presidential Wall of Fame from our very first Commander-in-Chief, General George Washington, to now the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald John Trump, and their portraits there adorning the walls of the gorgeous spot right outside of the Oval Office and the West Wing, and the newly renovated Rose Garden and the Rose Garden Dinner Club, where we've seen a number of different dinners and events happening, as we will watch tonight. Not sure on the location yet of whether that's the East Room, likely the East Room, given that a bit more of chilly temperatures this time of year. So we see the gorgeous fall colors there at the White House. And we've had some of those gorgeous colors right down here in Georgia and Alabama. And it's been more red and orange and amber yellow as well than I've seen in recent memory. So always nice to see that at this time of year, as the President and the Crown Prince will have a bilateral meeting, and we'll take you right back there to the Oval Office moments from now. Some of the hot topics facing the world has to be the realignment with tariffs and global trade strategy, something this president's been very, very at the forefront of, with a number of different deals dating back to his visit to the kingdom and also UAE and Qatar neighbors, with billions and billions coming back into the United States, with military deals to chip deals, as well as different trades, and how that all intersects within the Abraham Accords, something that was solved back in the first Trump administration. Also, an end to 8 different wars in 8 months, including the Israeli-Iranian conflict dating back to the 12 Days War this summer that came to an end thanks to American military power. and a consensus in the region when Tehran struck or attempted to strike the U.S. Air Force base outside of Qatar in Doha. And that was a bit of a surprise considering Iran and Qatar had been strategic allies for years. And the emir was warned by the leadership in Iran, but that did not have any casualties nor damage. It was probably something to show some show of force by the Iranian government, but they truly do not have the wherewithal to withstand any of United States firepower, as we saw back this summer, to hopefully keep them in line with their nuclear program ultimately. As they've said on countless occasions, they want to see the destruction of the West, the United States, and Israel as we know it. So something that is not shared across the board with many of these Islamic and Muslim majority countries that have now grown exponentially in the last 2 decades. These once areas of simple desert have really turned into showcases for global trade and Western thought and capitalism. And President Trump using that as an angle in his discussions with the United Nations, but also separate groups within the Middle East to the European Union, NATO, and countless Asian countries, as we saw in the recent Indo-Pacific trip to Malaysia and meetings with Cambodia and Thailand for peace there. We saw the peacemaker-in-chief to Japan and reinforcing that military bond between the Japanese and the American governments with their new prime minister, and ultimately to South Korea for even more business discussions, as some of the car manufacturing really being led not only in where it was always should have been in Detroit, Michigan, but we've seen those plants and manufacturing facilities grow in influence throughout the Southeast United States, from Louisiana to Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. In fact, not far from here in West Point, Georgia, a massive Hyundai facility and Kia plant that is the size of about probably 6 or 7 football fields. So many of those South Korean and American engineers combining together to provide and produce some of the best cars out on the road right now. And much of that is thanks to public and private partnerships and ultimately the negotiation prowess of this commander-in-chief. He was someone that was a builder and developer in his past life, and we see how that is now being facilitated in renovations currently happening at the White House, on the East Wing of the White House specifically, with a 9,000 square foot ballroom being installed, as we discussed, all privately funded and taken care of by very generous donors of those who care deeply about the White House, its history. And since 1902, we have seen many renovations and additions by presidents of the United States, pictures and a wall of fame now being enjoyed by the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So what you're looking at there, the executive mansion in and of itself, having opened its doors in 1800, the only president who did not live there was our very first, the father of our country, General George Washington, as he was inaugurated in the older capital, New York City at the time, before the federal city of D.C., giving birth to the White House right there. Since 1902, when Teddy Roosevelt was president of the United States, the 29th president, we saw that there was no East Wing, there was no West Wing. So these additions have either been publicly or privately funded over time. So again, that was another Democrat talking point when they were all upset about this new grand ballroom coming into place. But it's common sense because we've hosted heads of state outside where the rain would happen, tents would be formed, and people are in their dress shoes or high heels for the ladies, stepping in muddy grass. Just did not make a lot of sense. Now, it will be almost double the size of the executive mansion itself, which stands at 5,500 square feet, quite a sight in and of itself, in an ornate celebration of this American Republic. as lots happening in the news today as we get close to the noon o'clock hour on the East Coast and 9 o'clock on the Golden West Coast. But Democrats are saying that ex-Prince Andrew, he was stripped of all of his titles, the brother of His Majesty King Charles III, hiding from Congress allegedly to avoid answering questions about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. But the Democrats weren't so worried about it just a few years ago, as the United States Representative Jimmy Raskin of Democrat from Maryland, who was leading the charge against President Trump in the impeachment debacle that was just a few short years ago, is apparently trying to court Marjorie Taylor Greene over to the party as a result of all this. But my question is, why are Democrats now worried about the Epstein files when they've been hiding so much, as I was explaining earlier on in the broadcast? Nice to see that they've come around to Republicans where they have been for years now. So hopefully we learn some more from all of the vote today at 1:30, scheduled for that time later this afternoon. Thank you to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Who will President Trump pardon this year? Changpeng Zhao, Roger Ver, Steve Bannon? Will Bitcoin hit that 150K mark before March Madness? Scan that QR code there now for Kalshi.com/RSBN. Who will win the Thanksgiving matchups come Turkey Day in the National Football League? It's sports, it's music, it's politics, it's much more. It's the American culture right there for you to trade and bet on at Kalshi.com/RSBN. And to keep yourself glowing this time of year, to show off for family and friends come Thanksgiving, why not turn to angelpaste.com, the miracle that is the vitamin B original cream that I use on a daily basis. There's also the orange option, so good this time of year. All of their products good year round, but especially with the vitamin C infused, non-GMO, no chemical orange option, and a facial spray, also all natural, so you can paint the town red. It is a Christian-owned company based out of Spring, Texas, the Lone Star State right there off the Gulf of America. Experience the miracle that is angelpaste.com. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history as we await to return to the White House for a bilateral meeting between President Trump and Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed Salman of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And they've really seemed to grow in that relationship over the years. As a formality, initially you're not necessarily one to even pat or tap on the shoulder the Saudi Crown Prince as a form of custom in their country. We saw President Trump do that at the United Nations some years ago in 2017, before they really had that close friendship that we saw on full display, not only today, but also when President Trump visited the kingdom earlier in the spring. But now it's hugs, it's handshakes, it is an embracement of Western values that we have not seen necessarily between the United States and Saudi Arabia in the past, outside of military and diplomatic relations. There seems to be a real closeness now, as when President Trump visited back in the spring, they even played the classic YMCA that you would hear at a Trump rally. So there's definitely a growing, budding relationship between the Crown Prince and the President of the United States. And serving in such, he is the Prime Minister of the kingdom. That's how they structure it. So King Salman himself is really the figurehead and the head of the government, but the day-to-day operation of the kingdom falls on that opportunity and responsibilities towards his son. And that's why you see him there. And that's why this today is not an official state visit. As we continue to cover all of the updates here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, breaking news, and this very important official visit from the kingdom, we'll take a quick commercial break for sponsorship. Stick with us here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump holding a bilateral meeting with the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. If you're just joining us, we're diving into all the hot topics today on this Tuesday, November 18th. I'm Robert McNeely. Always a joy to be with you on the live desk. We'll bring you right to the Oval Office when we get some footage of the two leaders who are having already a great meeting, seemingly walking down that presidential Hall of Fame, the 45-second walk from the residence to the Oval Office right there on the colonnade. And it's really a star-studded, reinvigorated walk that President Trump, I think, has created with all of the commanders-in-chief along the wall there. So something very nice to see. There will be plaques that will be placed under these photos as well. So we look forward to that in the history of each commander-in-chief and the presidents of these United States, almost 250 years young. We do have playback of the arrival from the Crown Prince and the Prime Minister from just moments ago. in case you missed yesterday as well, President Trump visiting McDonald's for a lovely conference meeting that they had for executives there of the fine and very recognizable Golden Arches, the fast food chain that really changed the face of that American business. President Trump delivered remarks at the McDonald's Impact Summit, where he laid out the progress that has been made in undoing the economic devastation of the Autopen administration and chartering a path forward to make sure that all Americans realize prosperity and opportunity. As President Trump stated yesterday, he's very honored to stand before you as the very first former McDonald's fry cook ever to become president of the United States. Of course, we remember that's somewhat in jest, but he actually did that and worked one more day at McDonald's than Kamala Harris ever did, the former 49th vice president, if you remember her from the campaign trail. 107 days was really something for the history books. President Trump also including that his pledge is to every family, every small business, that I will not rest until you are richer, stronger, more successful, happier, until you've gotten a piece of the American dream. That begins with making America affordable. And there's still a lot of work to do, according to the president, and we are making tremendous progress. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today than when I took office. Wages for hourly workers are rising at the fastest pace in 60 years. As we see a live look there outside of the West Wing, and we'll see if anyone important is coming out that door. Of course, everyone is in and out of the building. There's no question about that. We know that the Marine is at attention at the door. That means the president is in the West Wing. Now, President Trump continued with that speech yesterday. I'm fighting every day to support small businesses like yours and the citizens that we all serve. And together, we are fighting for an economy where everyone can win, from the cashier starting her first job to the franchisee opening his first location, to the young family in a drive-through lane. That's what's unique about McDonald's. We see this also with a Chick-fil-A that has what they call operators who franchise out. Each one of those building structures, restaurants, all privately owned through the corporate model that is the head of each respective fast food chain. But that person that does operate or franchise out, they're beholden to their customer, their guest, to their community, and more often than not, doing so much to build up that working ethos of America. As McDonald's has stated, it is the best first job in America, and that the rising of minimum wages at a federal level, and without regard to GDP, inflation, everything else, could actually put a lot of these first-time workers or hourly workers out of work. And I'm sure many of you have seen, as I have seen on the road, that some of these people being replaced by kiosks. And would you rather order directly from that person or by a computer? Now, we might be able to debate all of that, but I like to have that human interaction. And usually it does go slightly better when you're able to communicate with a fellow human being. Now, President Trump continuing on the speech from yesterday, the Biden administration started the affordability crisis, and my administration is ending it. In the past 6 months, the price of breakfast items falling 14%. Bread prices down, dairy prices down. The price of eggs has declined 86% since March. Now, while Democrats wanted to give Americans the largest tax hike in history back in July, I proudly gave you the largest tax cuts in American history and signed the one big beautiful bill into law. That includes the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. That is a big deal. The president continued. We slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations burdens on the U.S. economy, in particular on businesses and people that employ people. Combining our regulatory and tax cuts, we've reduced the effective burden on franchisees by more than 37%. In my first term, I also stopped a mortal threat to the franchise model being terminated by Obama's infamous joint employer rule. As long as I'm president, I'll always defend your right to run your own small business and do it well. That had immense applause with a backdrop that stated the golden age, locally owned, nationally loved McDonald's Impact Summit 2025. And it's a focus like that that can help make this country great again. And the president concluding, as you may have heard, I'm also one of your all-time most loyal customers. While other politicians fly around on campaign planes stocked with expensive catering, on Trump Force One, we serve only McDonald's almost every time. There's no question, as Secretary Kennedy has stated it on multiple occasions, that my boss loves fast food. It's something that President Trump has enjoyed on the campaign trail. And we've seen countless photos of him with some iconic American brands. And you can't go wrong with a double cheeseburger from McDonald's. There's something about it, as we're getting a live look there outside of the West Wing, and a lovely Mercedes-Benz that delivered the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the White House just earlier, about 1 hour ago. And we watched them enjoying the Presidential Walk of Fame on the colonnade there. That is normally the 45-second walk. That's what takes from the residence to the Oval Office and vice versa. So that is something to see now with the portraits outside. Those portraits will be accompanied by the history and legacy of each commander-in-chief, and it will be something that can be stopped and viewed by staff and guests, visitors to the White House, as well as the president on a daily basis, all off of the newly revamped Rose Garden Club. President Trump is really putting his staple not only on the American presidency, but on the building itself of the West Wing, the East Wing, and the Executive Mansion. And lots of gold in there, 20 plus portraits in the Oval Office right now of past presidents and great leaders in this fine constitutional republic of ours, nearly 250 years young. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 10% off right now, code RSBN10. That's RSBN10. Don't let the cold ruin the holidays. Prepare now. And if you order today, just in time to stock up that medicine cabinet in case someone comes on over with the sniffles. It's inevitable this time of year, so you might as well be prepared and not worried about urgent care, long lines. And we seem to be going back now to many things being closed outside of emergency on Thanksgiving so people can have time with family, which is so important in this day and age. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 300 options on life-saving medicines, from Tamiflu to ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, methylene blue. You're right to try with the most favored nation status. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN gets it, and they want you to have access to life-saving generic medications that are affordable, that come right to your door within days of ordering. And if you don't have insurance, it's no problem. It's no hassle, no red tape, no bureaucracy. Simply life-saving medications there for you, all reviewed by a United States doctor on hand. It's doctors, pharmacists, nurses who care about you. They're patriots. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. CovePure.com/RSBN, continuing on the Make America Healthy Again agenda, focused on getting you this life-saving machine, leader in reverse osmosis technology, at $200 off. CovePure.com/RSBN. Drink pure and live pure. Clearwave Technologies building this water dispensary that is no bigger than your coffee maker right on your kitchen counter or in your den. So a nice accompaniment to making sure that you and your family have clean water to drink. We saw what happened in Flint, Michigan with the lead poisoning in the pipes. You don't want that because that could lead to stomach and gastro issues, to kidney and liver failure, brain damage. We had a study done by JAMA Pediatrics that children, students drinking out of the tap on a regular basis can lose up to 2 points in their IQ. And after all that COVID learning loss, why would you want to risk anything else of the most precious leaders who are up and coming in this great nation of ours? There's also legislation in Utah, Florida, to get fluoride, pesticides, the agricultural runoff, and the hormone-disrupting blockers in birth control out of the water so that you can be safe drinking that water. So covepure.com/RSBN leading the way on that with this Clearwave technology that is the best in the reverse osmosis business. Get yours today, $200 off. Scan the QR code now. Drink pure, live pure at covepure.com/RSBN. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. As we await President Trump and once again the Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince there, enjoying his time clearly with President Trump in an official visit. It's not a state visit once again, in case you missed it. The King, Salman, who is not in attendance, that would be a formal state visit since he is the head of state. But in the structure of the kingdom, it is the son or the Crown Prince who serves as prime minister, who does the day-to-day operations running their government. So a formal head in the form of the king, Mr. Salman, who is not in attendance today, but as I understand, in regular correspondence with the president, but his son, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed Al Salman, conducting these meetings with President Trump today, along with his team there on hand, including our team of the Vice President, the Secretary of State, Secretary of War, also Susie Wiles, the Chief of Staff, the first female Chief of Staff, in case you forgot. So it's always entertaining when the other side of history claims that this president isn't for diversity or for women or whatever baseless trope that they throw out there. Remember Russia, 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 and the hoax, 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 as we look towards a vote in roughly just over an hour from now on the releasing of these additional Epstein files and emails. We look forward to that and what it has to say or does not say in the details there, as President Trump has been very vocal about those releases, especially in the last couple of days, taking that to social media and also talking on True Social about a number of different items, including health care, to the Indiana Republicans, the redrawing of their maps in the crossroads of America, to the UN Board of Peace. As President Trump stating there, the only health care I will support or approve is sending money directly back to the people, with nothing going to the big, fat, rich insurance companies who have made trillions of dollars, ripped off America long enough that people will be allowed to negotiate and buy their own much better insurance. Power to the people. Congress, do not waste your time and energy on anything else. This is the only way to have great health care in America. Get it done now. President DJT. So really vocalizing that concern as it's something that's going to be a huge point to tackle come the 2026 midterms. And I will predict the party that's able to really come up with a solution to the travesty that is Obamacare perhaps will be the party in the majority come January 3rd of 2027 when we see the swearing in of the 120th Congress. But until then, we have a Democrat Party that is really offering up no solutions rather than shutting down the government, something that was not needed over the course of 43 days. But the fight over congressional maps continuing with cut number 2, Mr. Producer, where Indiana Republicans have been at somewhat of a crossroads themselves. I am working with Governor Mike Braun and other Indiana Republicans on picking up 2 Republican congressional seats. The governor, a good man, must produce on this, or he will be the only governor, Republican or Democrat, who did not. I won Indiana in a landslide, the most votes ever gotten in the state. Such an honor. A Rhino State Senator Roderick Bray, who does not care about keeping the majority in the House in D.C., is the primary problem. Soon he will have a primary problem, as will any other politician who supports him in this stupidity. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT signed off there, as many coming forward to take on the state senator Bray in a primary challenge. So we'll watch that race closely as it has national implications. And President Trump succeeding in the UN Board of Peace with cut number 3. He will chair this committee. Congratulations to the world on this incredible vote of the United Nations Security Council just moments ago. This was yesterday, acknowledging and endorsing the Board of Peace, which will be chaired by me and include the most powerful, respected leaders throughout the world. This will go down as one of the biggest approvals in the history of the United Nations, will lead to further peace all over the world, and is a moment of true historic proportion. Thank you to the United Nations and all of the countries on the UN Security Council: China, Russia, France, the United Kingdom, Algeria, Denmark, Greece, Guyana, South Korea, Pakistan, Panama, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, and Somalia. Also, thank you to those countries that weren't on the committee but strongly backed the effort, including Qatar, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, and Jordan. The members of the board and many more exciting announcements will be made in the coming weeks, as President Trump is not thrilled with new details coming from the former FBI under Christopher Wray with cut number 4 and what took place on January 6 of 2020. It was just revealed that FBI had secretly placed, against all rules, regulations, and protocols and standards, 274 FBI agents into the crowd just prior to and during the January 6 hoax. This is different from what Director Christopher Wray stated over and over again. That's right. As it turns out now, FBI agents were at and in the January 6 protest, probably acting as agitators, insurrectionists, but certainly not as law enforcement officials. And I want to know who each and every one of these so-called agents are and what they were up to on that now historic day. Many great American patriots were made to pay a very big price only for the love of their country. I owe this investigation of dirty cops and crooked politicians to them. Christopher Wray, to then director of the FBI, has some major explaining to do. That's 2 in a row. Comey and Wray, who got caught up in the lying with our great country at stake. We can never let this thing happen to America again. That's just some of the updates coming from President Trump via Truth Social as we await footage of this bilateral meeting between the 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief and the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As we reach the bottom of the hour, let's take a quick commercial break for sponsors. Stick with us here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
And welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely as we await this bilateral meeting between the United States of America and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is underway right now in the Oval Office. We saw the president and the crown prince enjoying the Presidential Walk of Fame outside of the Oval Office and the West Wing. And that's the 45-second walk historically from the residence along the colonnade into the West Wing and Oval Office of the Executive Office of the President of the United States. So something to look upon. Under those portraits will be some brief description of their histories and tenures in office. So we look forward to that as President Trump continues to be the developer in chief and leaving his mark, his staple on our glorious White House. It's a museum. It is a workplace, but it's also the residence of the first family. And it's a fun staple to have someone so keenly focused on our history and the greatness of this nation as President Trump is. Thinking of monetary gold for wealth and preservation and security, it's something you should look at as, actually, we're going to go right to the president right now. So stay tuned here at RSBN.
He's a good guy. I'm giving you a build-up. Good guy. He is. Yes, that's an easy performance. That's an easy. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We have a extremely respected man in the Oval Office today, and a friend of mine for a long time, a very good friend of mine. And I'm very proud of the job he's done. What he's done is incredible in terms of human rights and everything else. And he's the Crown Prince, the future king, and I just want to pay my greatest respect to your father, the king, who is an amazing man. I met him early on. He greeted me at the airport at an age that was pretty high up there, and it was about 117 degrees, and he was standing on the red carpet as I came out of the plane. And he's amazing. And when I met his brilliant son, it was at the Oval Office. Shortly thereafter, you came in representing the country, and I called the father. I said, "This guy is fantastic." And I don't know if that helped you or hurt you, but obviously it couldn't have hurt too much, because here you are, right? But we had a great meeting, and the office has changed quite a bit, and we inherited a mess. You actually told me you thought the country was in big trouble. I'm not going to use the exact word that you use. I refuse to say that you thought our country was dead a year and a half, 2 years ago, but our country was in trouble, and now we have the hottest country in the world. You said that also. And we do. We have the United States is right now the hottest country in the world. And between the tariffs and the election, November 5th election, we've done things that nobody can believe. $21 trillion will be the amount invested in the United States or committed to invest in 1 year. So I'm here 9 months. We're up to almost $18 trillion. Biden, as an example, the Biden administration, if you call it that, it's not to me, it was the Biden lack of administration. They were less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're going to be $21 trillion for 1 year. I think that's hard to believe. The biggest in history was a certain country, $3 trillion. We're going to be $21 trillion. On top of that, prices are coming down. We inherited a mess with high prices, the worst inflation in the history of our country. We had inflation that was a single 4 years, the worst inflation in the history of the United States. Gas prices through the roof, and that's after destroying our petroleum reserve, which was meant for wars and big emergencies, not to try and win an election. They opened up the reserve so that people get $3 less in gasoline, and it didn't work. They got about 3 cents less, because as big as those reserves are, they're peanuts when you're talking about that kind of traffic. And we're rebuilding the reserves. We're doing all of this, and we've done a job. We're also bringing down prices very substantially, and we've already brought them down very, very substantially. Gasoline is way down. I think you'll be seeing $2 gasoline, but we're now at $2.50, $2.45. Some are lower than that. It was $4.50, $5, $6, $3.50, $3.75 under Biden, all different numbers, but way high. And we have energy way down. But the biggest thing to me, because I know what it means in jobs, is the fact that we're at over $17 trillion, Scott, and we expect to be around $21 trillion in 1 year. And that's many times bigger than in history. The highest number was $3 trillion. And we're going to be at $21 trillion. That means new plants, new AI, new auto plants. We have auto plants coming in from Canada, from Mexico, from Germany, from Japan. Toyota just agreed to invest $10 billion on new auto plants, all American workers. We've never been in a position like this. You can go back to the beginning. Our country has never been in a position like this. And it really is because of the fact that we use tariffs to bring all this money in. And you're going to see the results in a year when these plants start to open up. We have more plants under construction now than at any time in the history of our country. And these are big plants. These are the biggest plants anywhere in the world. And I want to thank you because you've agreed to invest $600 billion into the United States. And because he's my friend, he might make it $1 trillion, but I'm going to have to work on him. But it's 600. We can count on 600 billion, but that number could go up a little bit higher. Yes, sir. I don't know. We'll see. But we appreciate it very much. So Saudi is going to be investing at least $600 billion, and that means investments in plants, in companies, money on Wall Street, and what it really means for everybody that really counts is jobs, a lot of jobs. We have a lot of jobs. So I just want to thank you. We've been really good friends for a long period of time. We've always been on the same side of every issue. I think we've done a great job in wiping out the nuclear capacity of Iran. Nobody else could have done that. No other president would have done it. We had the pilots in the Oval Office right here. We were celebrating a very successful attack. So I had them in with that beautiful B-2 bomber that's over there. And they said, sir, for 22 years, we practiced this attack. Our predecessors, these were very young guys, so 22 years, they said our predecessors and us practiced the attack on Iran. But no president ever gave us the go-ahead. 3 times a year they went out and they practiced the attack. Nobody let us do it until you came along, and I let them do it because it was the right thing to do. You can't have a nuclear Iran. And so we put you in a very good position. But I just want to say it's an honor to be your friend, and it's an honor that you're here. And if you'd like to say a few words, but thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This relation has been a relation for about 9 decades, and we've been working together for a long time. But today it's a very important time in our history because there is also a lot of things that we're working on in the future. We believe in the future of the United States of America. We believe in what you're doing, Mr. President, really creating a lot of good things and good foundation to create more economic growth, more business in America. And it will also, your work for the world piece. I believe, Mr. President, today and tomorrow we're going to announce that we are going to increase that $600 billion to almost $1 trillion of investment, real investment and real opportunity by details in many areas. And the agreement that we are signing today in many areas in technology, in AI, in earth materials, magnet, etc., that will create a lot of investment opportunities.
So you are doing that now. You're saying to me now that the $600 billion will be $1 trillion.
Definitely, because what we are signing, it will facilitate that. And
I like that very much.
He works hard.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. That's great. We're doing numbers that nobody's ever done. And in all fairness, if you didn't see potential in the U.S., you wouldn't be doing that.
Definitely.
You don't want to lose money.
As you said, Mr. President, it's the most hottest country in the planet. But what you're creating is not about opportunity today. It's about also long-term opportunity in the rest of America that will affect American economy positively in the next coming decades. Preparing the right foundation of emerging technologies, that's a game changer for America in a good way, and we want to be part of it.
Yeah, we're doing really well. And this, you don't see what we're doing so much because we have, although the construction industry sees it, if you look at Caterpillar, who's been incredible, the tractors, everything else, the numbers that we're doing in construction are unbelievable. Some of the plants that we're building, AI, and they're building their own electric with the plant. I gave them the right to build their own electric with the plant because no country, frankly, will have this. China's working very hard to produce enough electric, but we're beating China substantially at AI, which is a big thing. And we had a great meeting 2 weeks ago with President Xi, but on AI, we're doing well. And I have a man, David Rommel.
Yes, sir.
David, could you say a few words about what you're seeing on the job front and all of the some of the assets, and also how we've been helped by the Saudis in terms of the kind of investment they've made, please.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you for the opportunity. I am a facility leader for GE Vernova, and if you look at the landscape for GE Vernova investment, over $750 million in the U.S. focused on true manufacturing jobs here stateside. We're looking at tripling the output of our Greenville, South Carolina facility, where we make the gas turbines that are supporting U.S. needs as well as the Saudi Arabia needs. Right. So real jobs, $300 million in gas investment, resulting in over 500 pieces of new equipment being installed in the Greenville, South Carolina facility. That translates into roughly 1,800 jobs across the board for GE Vernova as we try to scale capacity to be able to meet this demand. Along with that, we're partnering with local communities to build the skill set that's required to meet these capacity needs. So that talent pipeline is incredibly important. So it's real jobs in the manufacturing space.
Well, you've been great, and thank you very much. And we love that state. I won that state by record numbers. I won a lot of states by record. Texas, a lot of them by Indiana. We're working with Indiana or something right now. We won that. We won a lot of them by records, but that was one of them. I want to thank you very much. Say hello to everybody. Great job. You're doing a great job. Thank you. So just in wrapping up, we'll take a couple of questions, but I want to just tell you what an honor it is to be your friend. And I very much appreciate the investment of now $1 trillion, okay? I'm glad you got that out. I didn't want to be the one to tell them, but that's great news.
You keep increasing, Mr. President.
I know.
Each time the opportunities are just increasing more and more.
Well, the opportunities, right? We're doing better. If even if you look back 6 months ago, I mean, now all of a sudden you feel even better. So, and I think we're only going to go in one way. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. President, have you approved the export licenses for advanced chips to Saudi Arabia? The export licenses?
We are working on that. We're negotiating that right now. Marco, do you want to talk about that, or Scott?
Well, I mean, that's part of what we may have announcements on that later today. But that's what we've been working on is the mechanics by which something like that could be achieved. And it's part of the broader process, part of this broader engagement and cooperation between our two countries.
Certain levels of chips. Yeah.
For the Crown Prince, Your Royal Highness, you're talking about $1 trillion of investment. Could the kingdom continue to do that with oil prices in the mid-60s?
Yeah, we are not creating fake opportunities to, please America, please President Trump. It's real opportunities. For example, when you ask about the AI and the chips, Saudi Arabia have a huge demand a huge need of computing power, and we're going to spend in the short term around $50 billion by consuming those semiconductors for our needs in Saudi Arabia. And with the agreement that we're going to have with North America, that will allow us to focus that consuming power in short term by $50 billion from North America, and long term with hundreds of $billions in the long term. So there's a lot of real opportunities that fit to our need in Saudi Arabia and fit to our investment strategy.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office.
Who are you with?
Why should Americans trust
you? Who are you with?
And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news. One of the
But the
worst.
question is
One of the
legitimate,
worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia. Actually, I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Just ask Mr. President, if you allow me to answer. I feel painful about the families of 9/11 in America, but we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, to continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Mr. President, this side, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Crown Prince has been instrumental in helping lifting the sanctions on Syria. Will there be any joint investment between the U.S. and Syria? And will you visit Damascus?
Are you from Syria?
No, but
Where are you from?
I'm from Palestine.
Oh, you're making a lot of progress, huh? Very good. Well, they like the Palestinians like me.
As well after you, sir.
The Palestinians are doing very well, actually. I think we're working very closely with a lot of people to make everybody happy, including Israel, the Palestinians, and everybody. That's very interesting. No, I think that I will tell you, the Crown Prince called me, and he specifically asked me if I would lift the sanctions on Syria, because he wants to see Syria make it. As you know, the leader of Syria was just here. We had a great meeting, and he's a strong guy, and I guess you need a strong person to run it. And I think Syria's made tremendous progress. We did lift the sanctions at the request of the Crown Prince. Also, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, called me specifically. He said, if you don't lift the sanctions, Syria doesn't have a chance. If you do, they have a very good chance. And between the two of them and some others, I lifted the sanctions. And the results so far have been pretty good.
Mr. President, can I ask you a question about F-35s that are being sold to Saudi Arabia? Are these the same ones that are being used by the Israeli military? And if so, how does that allow for the qualitative military edge for Israel? And then I want to ask you, because you brought up the plight of the Palestinians, are you aware of relocation flights to South Africa that are taking place right now?
Which flights?
There are relocation flights that are taking place. Some Palestinians are being charged up to $2,000 a seat.
I'm not going to South Africa for the G20 because I think their policies on the extermination of people are unacceptable. So I'm not going. So I won't refer to anything having to do with South Africa. South Africa has behaved extremely badly. But I will say that when you look at the F-35 and you're asking me, is it the same? I think it's going to be pretty similar, yeah. You know,
how will that
this
affect?
is a great ally, and Israel's a great ally. And I know they'd like you to get planes of reduced caliber. I don't think that makes you too happy. They've been a great ally. Israel's been a great ally. And we're looking at that exactly right now. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they are both at a level where they should get top of the line. Yes, please.
Can I just quickly ask for the Crown Prince, if I could just ask about the direct talks between U.S.
It's all right. Steve, 1 second. Go ahead.
Have you reached an agreement on a U.S.-Saudi defense treaty today? And are you going to bring up the Abraham Accords in your discussion?
I already brought them up.
What did you say?
I think I got a positive response. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, so definitely we believe having a good relation with all Middle Eastern countries, it's a good thing. And we want to be part of the Ibrahim Accord, but we want also to be sure that we secure a clear path of two-state solution. And today we have a healthy discussion with Mr. President that we're going to work on that to be sure that we can prepare the right situation as soon as possible to have that.
I think we're, I don't want to use the word commitment, but we've had a very good talk on the Abraham Accords. We talked about one state, two state. We talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. We'll be discussing it further, too. But I think you have a very good feeling toward the Abraham Accords.
Yes, definitely, Mr. President. We want peace for the Israelis. We want peace for the Palestinians. We want them to coexist peacefully in the region. And we will do our best to reach that day.
And the defense agreement, have you reached agreement on that?
We pretty much have.
Quick question for the Crown Prince, if I could just finish.
We have reached agreement on that. Okay.
I wanted to ask you about the direct talks between the United States and Iran. Have you been fully briefed on that? And are you concerned at all about how this might impact Saudi security interests?
Well, we are close ally. We'll be working closely together on that issue, and we will do our best to help to reach a deal between the United States of America and Iran. And we believe it's good for Iran's future to have a good deal that will satisfy the region and the world and the rest of America. So we will do our best to see that day happen.
And by the way, Iran does want to make a deal. I can say I think they very badly want to make a deal. I am totally open to it, and we're talking to them, and we start a process. But it would be a nice thing to have a deal with Iran, and we could have done it before the war, but that didn't work out. And something will happen there, I think. But they would very much like, they may say something else, but they would very much like to have a deal.
Mr. President, you are going to sell 35.
Say it.
You said you are planning to sell the F-35 jets to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Is it part of the security agreement? And how you assess the defense partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States? And the question was...
Well, I just said it, though. We're going to sell them F-35s. That's the end of the question, I guess.
Is it part of the security agreement or no?
No, we're going to have a deal. They're going to purchase F-35s. They're buying them from Lockheed, and it's a great plane. We make, by the way, the best military equipment. You saw that during the Iran little skirmish. We make the best planes, the best missiles. We make the best defensive missiles. We make the best military equipment in the world.
Nice. For His Royal Highness, I would like to ask you about how you see the cooperation between the United States and Saudi Arabia in the advanced technological field, especially AI, and how it will support Saudi Arabia to serve its goal to achieve the vision of 2030.
Well, I will try to answer that in short, but definitely there's a lot of interest in many industries between Saudi Arabia and America, and we are signing a lot of agreements in different areas that will really add value to American economy, but also to add value to us in Saudi Arabia. And AI, it's critical for us because one of the long-term problems that we could have is lack of workforce. As you've seen in the past few years, some of them have reached 30% of the global immigration to Saudi Arabia. So we know that to assure the Saudi Arabia GDP growing with the lack of workforce that we have, we need to use a lot of computing power to replace job in the long term. So that's huge demand in Saudi Arabia, and we want to link it to American private sectors and getting the supply from America. So there's a lot of opportunities in that area.
And we're also involved in AI in Saudi Arabia. So we're working, and we're leading by a lot on AI. Actually a lot. China would be in second place, but we're leading by a lot. And I have to say this, and our relationship with China has been very good. And as far as buying our farm products, they're pretty much on schedule, Scott. I'd like you to call them, say if they could speed it up, it would be good. Okay, but they're pretty much on schedule.
I'm sorry, please. If I may, I have a question for both the Crown Prince.
Go ahead. Who are you? Where are you from?
Faisal Abbas from Arab News, Saudi Arabia, Your Excellency.
It should be a friendly question.
Your Royal Highness, just picking up on something you've just mentioned about how some people try to destroy the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States. Perhaps, since the launch of the vision, we've been used to having the bigger picture and that everything fits into the bigger picture. Might you want to elaborate a little bit about where is the relationship, the bilateral relationship, the strategic partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States heading, and what's the big picture there?
Well, I don't think it's a relation that we can replace it from the Saudi side or the American side. It's a critical relationship for our political attempt, for our economical attempt, for our security, for our military, for many things. And it has been there for 9 decades. And the opportunities that we have today, it's huge. And seems that it's going to get deeper in the next few decades. And what we are having today and tomorrow with President Trump, it's really a huge new chapter on this relation that will add value to both of us.
When you think about it, I'm just sitting here. You're with the future king, a man who's respected by everybody, a man that doesn't have to be doing this, really. I don't have to be doing it either. And yet we're sitting here taking questions. We didn't say, oh, you can't talk about this. And there's never been transparency like this, even in his country. But there's never been, in our country, that's been acknowledged. But we didn't put restrictions. And I'm saying it's sort of wonderful to be taking questions from all over the world. Everybody's here. This is just a small group representative of tremendous numbers of media that are outside that are very jealous that these people were so selected. But they're representing a lot of people that are outside. I think it's terrific that we could be sitting here being this open, and I think it's really a wonderful thing.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I have a personal question for you.
Okay, here we go. I should have said that.
So apart from everything you mentioned in your opening remarks, you forgot to mention that you've de-escalated 7 wars since you started. At least in our part of the world, you are seen as a peacemaker. And adding that to all the executive orders and everything else you've mentioned, I really have to wonder, in your speech in Saudi Arabia, I was there, you said that His Royal Highness does not sleep at night thinking how he does things better. We wonder in Saudi Arabia, how do you manage your own time, and what's your formula for managing?
He does not sleep much, and I don't sleep much. I think we have the same schedule. We're thinking about our countries. And if you sleep a lot and you're president, we just had one that slept more than any president. He broke every record. He sleeps all the time, during the day, during the night, on the beach. The only guy could fall asleep on the beach with the press watching. No, he's not a sleeper. I'm not a sleeper. We don't. We talk at night. We can talk. I can call him almost any time. He goes, hi, how you doing? It's like the craziest times. But now, when you love your job, when you love your country, and when you're in a position like we are, future king, highly respected, crown prince, and in my case, president, you're thinking about your country. You're thinking about making America great again. We're thinking about keeping Saudi Arabia strong and vital, and in a pretty tough part of the world, tricky part, right? Tricky part. A lot of tricky people, but he thinks about his country, and I think about my country. I don't want to sleep.
President Trump, do you expect a formal civil nuclear deal to be reached? And can you talk to us about that aspect
With
of
who?
with Saudi Arabia?
I can see that happening.
Do you think that an agreement will happen today?
It's not urgent, It's always when you have civil nuclear, but you have more oil than almost anybody else. We actually have more oil and gas than they do, but I refuse to say that. We have more than we have more than anybody. Can you imagine?
And on the F-35s, are those sales, Israel had reportedly wanted those sales to be conditioned on Saudi Arabia moving to normalized
Israel will be
relations.
happy.
Is that a condition of the F-35
Israel's
sales?
aware, and they're going to be very happy.
Crown Prince.
Yeah, please. Hello.
Hi, hello. My name is Amal Hazani from Sharq al-Awsat newspaper, from Riyadh, of course. I have a question for the Crown Prince and for you, Mr. President. Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, how much you expected from developing the cooperation with the United States in the field of new energy, AI, supply chain? How much you expected from that?
No limit. We just continue pushing forward. There's no limit. So we just push forward for all the opportunities that we have.
You have to understand, this is really a great ally. Just the fact that they're now doing, I came in here at 6, I did not know that. I was pushing for the 1 trillion, but he didn't tell me that. Now he told me. This is a great ally of ours. You know, when you invest $1 trillion, that's national security for us too, because it creates jobs, it creates a lot of things. And I would say, Scott, right, when you hear one country's putting $1 trillion into the United States, that creates national security. And, you know, I think that they don't have to say that, but I think a big part of that is also the fact that tariffs are in play. But even beyond tariffs, that's a real ally that will do that. Creates a lot of power for the United States.
We are also in Saudi Arabia very happy because this much of Saudi
right, for the relationship.
money is a function here, and of course it's come back for us for benefits. So it's complementary interest. So this is the I think what's different the friends and ally do.
Well, look, I love the country of Saudi Arabia. I know the people very well. The level of treatment that we go when we go to Saudi Arabia is something that is incredible. And the people like us, and I think they really like America, especially when I'm president. I mean, I don't think they liked America so much maybe for 4 years recently. I think Obama treated Saudi Arabia very, very badly, as you know. And I think Biden didn't have any idea where the hell he was. I don't think Biden knew the difference.
How would you describe the future relationship with Saudi Arabia? I mean, from the strategic aspects, how would you describe
the relationship is with?
Economic.
I would say top of the line. It's as good as it can. I don't think it can get much better. We have a country that trusts us, and that's why they make that investment. If they didn't trust us, they couldn't make that investment. And we trust them. They've been very reliable. Now I rebuilt our military in my first term, and we spent trillions of dollars, and we gave away some of it in Afghanistan stupidly because we had stupid people running our country. But we gave away. But that's as much as it was. It's a tiny fraction of what we put here. And we're bringing our military to a new level, the highest level ever. We have those plans to go now. And again, it's all American jobs and everything, so it's good for a lot of reasons. But as far as Saudi is concerned, no, I don't think our relationship could be better. I don't think they had a great relationship under Biden, and I don't think they had a great relationship under Obama. But they have a great relationship under Trump. When we did the Presidential Walk of Fame, you saw that, right? And we're walking, and I asked the Crown Prince, so outside of Trump, because I blow everyone away, who was the best president for Saudi Arabia? And you could maybe, it's an interesting answer, I don't know.
Roosevelt, who started it, which is a Democrat, and Reagan, he's one of the historical presidents that have close ties with Saudi Arabia. But we've worked with all presidents.
Does Trump blow them all away?
No, it's another league, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
and Trump doesn't give a fist pump. I grabbed that hand. I don't give a hell where that hand's been. I grabbed that hand. When remember Biden? He travels for 20 hours, gets out, and he gives a fist bump. No. When you get out of the plane and you got the future king and the man who's one of the most respected people in the world, you shake his hand. You don't give him a fist bump, right? We don't want to ask you about that, but I can't imagine you were thrilled. You were like a little bit surprised. He's a fantastic guy. You don't do that. Yeah, please.
We're getting closer to the end of the year. Have you started the interviews for the Fed chair?
Yes.
Who have you interviewed?
I think I already know my choice.
Who is it?
Well, I liked him, but he's not going to take the job. He refused. You like Treasury better, right?
Much better, sir.
So we are talking to various people, and frankly, I'd love to get the guy currently in there out right now. But people are holding me back. He's done a terrible job, hurting housing a little bit. The truth is, we've been so successful, we've blown past his interest rate stupidity. He's been wrong. That's why I call him too late. He's too late. Jerome Too Late Powell. He was recommended to me by a guy that made a bad choice, and it's too bad. But despite that, it's having very little impact because we have all of these things happening. But it has an impact on housing to a certain extent. He's a fool. He's a stupid man. But we have some very good people.
Yes, sir. You'll be sitting down with them in the near future, and
we have some surprising names, and we have some standard names that everybody's talking about. And we may go the standard way. It's nice to every once in a while go politically correct. But we have some great names. Steve,
Have
please.
you talked to President Maduro of Venezuela yet? Are you still open to that?
He wants to talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm open to talk. I talk to everybody. But no, he wants to. They treated us very badly. They sent all of their prison population into the United States, and we're getting them out rapidly. But he sent all of his, and he sends drugs into the United States and other things. No, he treated us badly. He was dealing with a bad president, and he was able to get away. We have now, I think we have the strongest borders anywhere in the world. Nobody is coming in unless they come in legally. We're taking very weak borders where millions of people came in. For the last 6 months, I don't do these reports. They say 0 people have been able to come in. Is that pretty good?
Mr.
I don't know if
President,
that's right, but it's
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epps files? Why not just do it now?
It's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeff Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I would turn out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, 0, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax. And ABC's, your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep, the fund guy, was with him all the time. What's his name? Who? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Prince, very quickly, I want to ask, how much money is Saudi Arabia giving for Gaza reconstruction?
Well, we are in discussion about that. Still, there is no amount being
It'll be a lot.
named, but we will definitely help.
Yeah, he's going to. It's very important to him.
And a quick follow-up: the International Security Force. Given your pledge there will be no U.S. boots on the ground, what is the U.S. role going to be in that? And how do you sort of ratify the allegations that this could undermine Palestinian sovereignty and even the path to statehood?
Look, I think we're going to get along great with the Palestinians, and we know their leadership. We just had a very, you hate to say war, but it was a war. Very, very successful. And you could say really it was on behalf of everybody. We did that on behalf of everybody. And the outcome was extraordinary because we have the best pilots, the best equipment, the best planes, the best everything. And Israel bought the best equipment. They bought it from us. Everything's from us. It all starts here. This office, I was talking to the Crown Prince a little while. You walk into this office, for somebody from the outside, the Oval Office, it's the most powerful place in the world. You're standing right now in the most powerful place in the world. And no matter how big you are, these are the biggest people, the richest people. They walk into this office. It's special, isn't it? Look at him. He's so happy to be here. But you walk into this office. It's the Oval Office. And we've done a lot of good with this office. I've stopped actually 8 wars. I appreciated your question before. But I've actually stopped 8 wars. I have another one to go with Putin. I'm a little surprised at Putin. It's taken longer than I thought. But we stopped India and Pakistan. I could go through the list. You know the list better than I do. I'm very proud. And I stopped one that was almost ready to start again. You know, there was one that was ready to start, and they're doing very well. So it all took place right here in the Oval Office, whether by telephone or whether they came in. Many of these leaders have come in, and they signed their peace deals right here in the Oval Office. So no matter if it's the biggest business people in the world or the greatest leaders in the world, the biggest leaders in the world, like the gentleman on my right, everybody walks into the Oval Office and they say, wow. And now, by the way, the Oval Office is in the kind of condition that it should be in. Whether you look at the walk or the marble floors or anything down the road, we're fixing the White House. And we're building one of the greatest ballrooms ever to be built. We have an event tonight, and we're going to have about 118 people because we have a very small room. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom, and now you're going to get a great ballroom. And I have to say, I probably made a lot of enemies because in your honor, we're having a dinner tonight, a beautiful dinner tonight, and we have a very small room, right? It's called the East Room, and it's beautiful, it's lovely, but it's like for a little cocktail before you go into a ballroom. It's a very small room. They've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. We could have sold the big ballroom out 3 times in honor of this gentleman. So I made a lot of enemies because I have a lot of people that are invited tonight or are unable to come because of the size constraint. But you know what we'll do before I leave office? We'll have another dinner because we'll have it ready long before I leave office, and it's going to be beautiful. It's a very popular thing what we're doing. And by the way, no government funds. It's all put up private money, all private money. And in the case, I think there's a restriction on foreigners. Otherwise, I could have asked you just for a check, okay? But there's a restriction. These are all private individuals that put up a lot of money to build the ballroom. Not one penny is being used from the federal government. So it's really a nice thing. But I look forward to it. I just pointed it out. This would be a perfect night to have that ballroom open, Susie. If we had that open, we'd have a lot of people very happy. Right now we have a lot of unhappy people because they all want to be with us tonight to honor this great man. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad. Everybody out. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Brad. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Brad. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And lots to cover there from the Oval Office with the President of the United States and Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Tonight, there will be, as part of this official meeting, a lovely dinner in the East Room, as President Trump just announced. And you can see the crane there right by the East Wing. Soon we'll have a 9,000 square foot ballroom. So the East Room right now roughly fits 180 to 181, and this should fit at least 2 to 3 times that size in the coming months here. So we look forward to that. Again, completely privately funded by United States citizens and those who care deeply about the future of the ornate beauty that is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So we look forward to that as we thank Monetary Gold for wealth security preservation. Saw lots of gold in the Oval Office today, but grab some of your own with gold at $4,500 an ounce. Silver not far behind in value at $50. It continues to go up in a bull market here. And with the devaluing of the dollar from BRICS nations looking to divest, also mixed with the fact that the purchasing power of the dollar going down 40%, and the U.S. Mint no longer even producing pennies due to inflation. At each penny is roughly costing 3.7% in the penny value. So actually the use of copper there didn't make much sense to print it. And when things like that happen, of course, the devaluing of paper currency happening over the course of time. So call today. Do not delay. It's 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate your annual IRA fees permanently for life. RSBN4thegold.com. That's where to go for wealth and prosperity. Buying properties, also generational wealth and that growth at RSBN4thegold.com. If you're looking to protect your conversations, whether written or over the phone, Venice.ai/RSBN is probably the best route to go in today's AI ingenuity that's happening even more and more on a daily basis. There's Grok 4 out there. There's social media sites. Get 20% off now with code RSBN, because imagine this. You have those conversations either written into emails or over the phone, and all of a sudden they are tracked and traced by different apps to other AI platforms. Your thoughts, your dreams, sensitive problems that might be out there in the World Wide Web. Business ideas included in all of that. We know that Sam Altman recently announced ChatGPT can now reference all your past conversations, and just try it out for yourself. Go and type in someone's name. It's interesting what might pop up. Alexa listens to us and recommends products based on our conversations. Meta retargets us based on our browsing history and engagement history. Why do you assume AI is going to be any different? It took us far too long to truly understand what social media companies were doing with our data for the last decade. And are we really going to make that mistake again? OpenAI has hinted they might start requiring users to provide a government-issued ID. So with all of this out there, smart to have something like Venice.ai/RSBN to protect you now. It's 20% off with code RSBN. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. Lots to consider there as we want your privacy and safety intact in 2025. And tonight, RSBN Prime Time, Matthew Alvarez will be on the desk for the dinner this evening to celebrate the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the relationship going on 9 decades now, and perhaps stronger and better than ever before, as the President and the Crown Prince announcing a $1 trillion investment into United States companies as the Saudi Arabian relationship gets more and more intact and strengthened between these two leaders. Get all America First updates and exclusive offers right here at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter for a deep dive on all that's affecting the federal city inside and outside of the Beltway, and American foreign policy to domestic politics and the culture as a whole. In 15 minutes from now, a scheduled vote on those Epstein files. We'll be watching those very closely here at the network, but be sure to tune in to the prime time tonight at 6 o'clock Until then, have a wonderful day. We will see you in a few hours from now.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.